In her past life, Zhao Mingruo married the Marquis' mansion in Anyuan when it was in danger. She worked hard and treated the people in the mansion kindly, taking care of the declining Marquis' mansion to its peak. However, she also injured her body, miscarried, and never conceived again. On her deathbed, she only found out that her husband had married another woman outside, who had a loving white head and a family full of children and grandchildren. The woman who remarried was meticulously crafted by her mother-in-law and sister-in-law. Everyone in the Marquis' mansion knew that she was the only one who kept it a secret from her. She spent her whole life, feeling guilty for not being able to live, acting as a horse and cow for everyone, and was ultimately angered to death. So, when she faced her second choice in life, she decisively chose the crown prince who was bedridden in the Duke of Yan's mansion. It doesn't matter whether her husband loves her or not, the key is how long she can live. As long as her status is high, money is enough, and her husband dies early, she can reach the peak of her life in her 20s. Crown Prince of the Duke of Yan. My mother waits for me to die of illness every day, so that I can inherit my family business. What should I do? Seeking advice, it's quite urgent. For Zhao Mingruo, it was yesterday's various events such as morning dew and death, and the next day's beautiful scenery of 3,000 spring boudoirs. Awakening from a fleeting dream, with your beloved in front of you, is the most fulfilling life marriage before love keywords of the novel. Chunboudoir Secrets without pop-ups. Download the complete collection of Chunboudoir Secrets TXT, and read the latest chapters of Chunboudoir Secrets. 1. Chapter 1. She's Almost Dead. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. She's almost dead. In March, in Linen City, it drizzled continuously for several days. Pedestrians on the road are hurried in their footsteps. The Marquis' mansion in Anyuan was exceptionally busy, with servants coming in and out, and the whole mansion draped in white silk. The coffin was brought in last night, and upon hearing this, the old lady in charge took her last breath and immediately began to take action. The old lady of the Marquis' mansion, Zhao Mingruo, witnessed everything with her own eyes. Her old face was expressionless, and she stood by in silence for a long time. "Madam, you will definitely be fine. Don't worry too much. The servants just need to make more preparations. The doctor said that as long as you stay through the spring, you can recover." Mom Fu secretly wiped away her tears. "It's okay." At this point, Zhao Mingruo, with his hair all over his head, felt a bit more carefree when he saw what was happening behind him. "Ah Fu, the apricot blossoms on the mountain have bloomed. I want to go to Xinghua village and take a look. You can set up a carriage and horse to pick me up," he said. "I have lived for decades, feeling sad, enjoying the scenery. At this age, I have no regrets." She knew her deadline was approaching and didn't want to cry and part ways on her deathbed. She just wanted to walk the whole journey quietly by herself. "Do you want to inform the old Marquis?" "No need. The apricot blossom forest in the western suburbs is about 10 miles long, so it is called Tenli Apricot Blossom Village. Every spring, the apricot trees are covered with apricot flowers, which are incredibly beautiful. This is the place where she and her husband first met back then." After the proposal of marriage by the Marquis' mansion, Zhao Mingruo came over to have someone buy this piece of land and carefully built a house here, hoping that when the couple could come and live together. Unfortunately, there were too many facts about the Marquis' mansion. She was so busy that she couldn't get away from it. She met her husband on a stranger's side, and after several decades, she finally had time to come and take a look. "Don't cry, everyone will have that day." Zhao Mingruo looked at Afu, who was secretly sad, but instead came to comfort her. The carriage drove steadily, and on the road, the surrounding scenery improved. The mountains and forests were shrouded in mist, and the green willows were covered with a layer of misty water vapor. Small and exquisite pink and white apricot blossoms adorned the branches, which were very beautiful. A few 7- or 8-year-old children gathered around the tree, folding flowers and picking apricots for fun. Fu Mama was angry and said, "Where did so many wild children come from? How could they trample on the apricot tree that you have carefully raised, madam? I will go and drive them away for you now. Let them do it." Zhao Mingruo looked at them frolicking with hopeful eyes. If she hadn't injured her body due to tire slipping, she would have had sons and daughters. When they got married at the age, their grandchildren should have been this big. A married couple with white heads and a family full of descendants, which woman wouldn't expect to spend her life together so smoothly? Unfortunately, she will never be able to fulfill her wish in this lifetime. The blue stone steps on the mountain were covered with pink petals, and when we arrived here, we couldn't get on the carriage and had to walk on our feet. If Zhao Mingruo was really old, he would be panting after walking a few steps. "Madam, it's been raining outside all the way. Otherwise, let's not go up the mountain and wait for the rain to stop in the house at the foot of the mountain." Mother Fu comforted with heartache. Zhao Mingruo gasped for breath and nodded, looking towards the winding path. Unfortunately, she couldn't climb to the top of the mountain to see this beautiful scene. Cooking smoke came out of her house, and there was a bamboo pavilion in the yard. Inside, hot dishes were placed on a stone table. "Husband, the meal is ready. I'll go call the children back for dinner." The woman was particularly gentle. "Wan Mei, you've been working hard for a long time, let me go." The man in a luxurious robe gently pulled up the scattered green hair on the woman's temples, and carefully wiped the fine sweat on her forehead. "Wan Mei, we are childhood sweethearts. You have worked hard and made great achievements in giving birth and raising children for me. Unfortunately, the business and family management of the Marquis' mansion is a good person. The prosperity of the Marquis' mansion cannot be separated from her, otherwise we cannot be as happy as we are now." He sighed and said, "When my mother was about to leave, she once regretted that she couldn't let you marry into the door of our Marquis' mansion openly. She could only place you in a private house, which is truly unfair to you." The woman smiled gently and said, "I won't be wronged. As long as I can be with my husband, even if I don't have any status, I am willing. She's about to die, and then you and I will be able to be dignified. I will definitely hold a good wedding banquet and marry you with all my might." Fortunately, I didn't let her give birth to that wild seed at the time, otherwise she might have really planned to leave the Marquis' mansion. The two embraced tightly. Zhao Mingruo suddenly smiled, tears in his eyes as he smiled. Back then, she was full of hope to marry the second young master of Anyuan Marquis' mansion. However, on the day of her marriage, her husband was arrested and imprisoned, and the male servants in the mansion were implicated and imprisoned. The Marquis' mansion was in chaos, and her mother-in-law was attacked and bedridden. She pleaded everywhere, avenged her husband, treated his aunt kindly, carefully taught her adopted sons and nephews, married and started a family for them, and cultivated their talents. 40 years have passed, and she has worked tirelessly for the Marquis' mansion for a lifetime, looking very old. The silver strands that couldn't be hidden in his temples, and the smooth and delicate face covered in wrinkles, while the woman raised by his husband outside looked so young and gentle. She thought it was because she slipped the tire, injured her body, and couldn't give birth. That's why the couple became separated in the end. They had a family full of descendants and enjoyed the happiness of family, but they lived in pain and guilt for a lifetime without a good ending. "Gu Changhen, it's so hard for you to deceive me." Zhao Mingruo stumbled and turned around, coughing heavily in blood. The blood dripped onto the apricot petals, turning the originally pink and white crimson hue. Fu Mama hurriedly went to support the old lady's body, the old lady. Unfortunately, there has been no further response. In early February, the spring is light and cold. The drizzle turns the broken snow into white frost, covering the lush green. The scenery outside the window is hazy and not very clear. Zhao Mingruo sat at the pear-wood desk carefully copying Buddhist scriptures. Afu pushed the door in, his small face turning red with cold, and he said enthusiastically, "Madam, Qing Shan has returned." The door suddenly opened and a hint of coolness blew in, making Zhao Mingruo's mind much clearer. As soon as she opened her eyes, she was reborn into the second year of her previous marriage, and she still felt a bit uncomfortable. Let him come in and answer. Yes. A robust man in his early 20s walked over, dressed in a blue robe with a delicate face. Madam, I went to investigate the whereabouts of Miss Yun and found that she was not in her hometown of Hengyang, but in Linen City. Shen Shan hesitated a bit. Say. Still living in the apricot forest house in the western suburbs that you bought. How long has it been? Zhao Mingruo tried hard to make his voice sound calm, but his body trembled uncontrollably. Shen Shan said one by one, Miss Yunbiao came to Linen 3 months before you and your second master got married, and stayed at the inn until your second master was released from prison. She came to the Marquis' mansion, but shortly after saying goodbye, she went from the Marquis' mansion to the western suburbs. Yi bought her servants and common items, and has been staying there ever since. Long time no see, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. Chu Kai. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Chu Kai. Zhao Mingruo's hand paused, and the nib stretched out on the paper. The ink dots on the rice paper became blurred and dyed, and her hatred surged with it. She struggled so hard to hold on to the Marquis' mansion and erase the charges of rebellion, but her good husband betrayed her as soon as he came out of prison and raised his cousin in her dowry house. Gu Changhen disguised himself too well. He hugged his cousin in his arms, had children and grandchildren, and even returned to the mansion to face her with deep affection. He said those gentle words, creating a beautiful illusion of a lifetime of a couple for her. How ridiculous! How could he be the second young master of the Marquis' mansion? He didn't go to Anyuan to perform and was a talented individual. I have sold the land in the western suburbs and converted it into cash. I will go to the suburbs of Beijing to buy 2 more mansions, and with the remaining silver, you can decide to buy some livelihood shops, cloth shops, grain shops or anything else. You can make your own decisions. Zhao Mingruo took out the land deed. Initially, Shen Shan was unexpectedly saved, and he has been working as a shopkeeper by his side. In his past life, he helped her manage most of her business. The children born from the richest Shen family may be born skilled in business regardless of age. Madam. Zhao Mingruo said, making money is important. Okay. As soon as Shen Shan left, Afyu was puzzled and said, that Miss Yunbiao is really strange. She didn't come to the good Marquis' mansion, but instead asked the second lord to place her in your private residence for what? Also, madam, even if you're angry that second lord is keeping it from you, are you willing to sell the western suburb? Your relationship with second lord has just met, will this hurt our relationship? The sky outside was gloomy, followed by thunder. Waves of spring rain and cold coolness. Zhao Mingruo looked at the destroyed Buddhist scriptures and felt a pain in her heart. At this point of rebirth, she didn't know whether it was good or bad for her from heaven. She instinctively caressed her lower abdomen, counting the days. It should take another half-month to diagnose the existence of this child. During the more than a year since marrying into the Marquis' mansion in Anyuan, in the first half of the year, due to a rebellion case, and in the second half, under the guise of studying outside, Yun Suiwan was raised. Gu Changhen kept making excuses and did not show any marital etiquette with her. Zhao Mingruo was busy managing the industry of the Marquis' mansion and did not force it. Just half a month ago, the two of them got drunk at the old man's life banquet, and vaguely became married. However, this was the only time that she silently gave birth to a fresh life in her womb. A 7-month-old boy will be able to survive in just 2 more months. The bone-wrenching pain of flesh and blood peeling from his body will not disappear for decades. Zhao Mingruo's apricot eyes were slightly moist. Even though Gu Changhen was a damn bastard, the child she was carrying was innocent, and she didn't even have a chance to see this world. In this life, she must prioritize the child and do her best to protect him, not only to let him grow up safely and smoothly, but also to help him marry, have children, and inherit the title. Afu, collect these Buddhist scriptures and follow me to pay my respects to the old lady. Zhao Mingruo suppressed his hatred, propped up his umbrella, and walked out on his own. Afu quickly caught up and said, "Madam, here's the stove for you. It's cold outside." The servants of Anyuan walked in and out, and in the room, the auspicious beast golden stove was burning with top-quality sandalwood incense. The servants were offering dragon and phoenix tea from the north garden, and laughter came from afar through the sound of rain, making it lively. Today is the day when the Duke and his wife of Yen come to visit. The Duke of Yen remained loyal for 3 generations and held a high position in the court. He was the wife of the late Duke and the mother of the current Empress. And the old Duke was also the mentor of the young lords in the Marquis' mansion, providing a lot of support in their official career. Even the King of Wei conspired to escape danger, and many of the old Duke was secretly using his power. As he watched the 5 young ladies of the Marquis' mansion, Zhao Mingruo's sister-in-law Gu Changyue was about to reach the age of marriage. The old lady put in a lot of effort to find a famous doctor from Jiangnan to come over, using the excuse that Prince Yen could study at the Gu family and recuperate on the way, in order to marry the Duke of Yen. "Madam, Aner's complexion looks good. Thanks to your care during this time, I am extremely grateful." The old Duke couldn't help but feel heartbroken as he looked at his son's weak body, and then saw his complexion improve and he was relieved. The old lady smiled contentedly and said, "Lord Guo, this is serious. It's too outrageous to say thank you. If we really want to thank you, it's up to our Marquis' mansion to thank you well." "Mother." Zhao Mingruo walked up in a low voice, interrupting the scene of several people chatting. The old lady, who was chatting with the Duke's wife, immediately lowered her face and said displeased, "Second wife, why did you come over? Aren't you still sick? Then you should rest well." Gu Changyue's face tugged at the old man. "Second sister-in-law is really bothering me at this time. They have great disdain for Zhao Mingruo. She was lost when she was a child, and it was only at the age of G that she was found back. Even though she was the 3rd young lady of Changning Mansion, her background and experience were belittled and despised by the powerful families in Linen City, making it difficult to discuss family matters. However, even so, the people who came to propose marriage were also them, not the ones sought by the Changning Mansion." Zhao Mingruo's face was unharmed and he said, "What did Grandma Wu say? When guests come to visit, it's a courtesy for me to come and meet. How could it be a disturbance? Does the Marquis' mansion treat me as an outsider? Returning to my mother, I heard that the Duke and Lady of the Kingdom come to our door. Even if my wife is in poor health, she should come out to welcome guests." After speaking, Zhao Mingruo respectfully bowed to the 2 elders and said, "I have seen the Duke and Lady of the Kingdom." After being polite, her gaze passed through the crowd and finally fell on Yan Huayan, the Crown Prince of Yen, who was sitting quietly on the side. He was dressed in a moon-white brocade robe embroidered with silver hollow hibiscus edges, with sword eyebrows and phoenix eyes, a straight nose and thin lips. His clear eyes were gentle, like the clear lake water rippling under the spring sun. Even a sentence as bright as a jade tree is not an exaggeration. Unfortunately, such a noble Crown Prince of Yen, with a gentle and pale face, couldn't conceal his pathological state. Crown Prince. Zhao Mingruo's face was calm, but waves had already risen in his heart. He is the noble son of Jin Zunyu, and also the person who silently helped her without reservation in his past life. The whole mansion was struggling step by step, and it was not easy for a weak woman to support her. Her husband's family was imprisoned, and even her mother's Changning mansion chose to stand idly by, let alone other former acquaintances. Zhao Mingruo sold her family's dowry and begged for help everywhere. If others didn't see her, they would guard outside the door and try their best to pass the money on to the Duke of Yen. When they arrived at the Duke of Yan's mansion, the Duke and his wife also closed their doors. It was the crown prince of Yen who went out to seek medical treatment and saw her, and helped her say a word. Only then did the Duke of Yen step forward. Otherwise, it was feared that the Marquis' mansion of Anyuan would have nowhere to turn. He is such a kind-hearted person that he never seeks anything in return for helping others. According to his family background, even the princess was in love with him. Unfortunately, he was born weak and had seen many imperial doctors who said it was difficult to survive. No one wanted to marry a widow and a man who had not lived long. Yan Huayan's reputation was not good, and this marriage was delayed. The Marquis' mansion in Anyuan really dares to think that their lazy and domineering fifth aunt would marry the empress's nephew and harm such a weak crown prince. End of this chapter. 3. Chapter 3 Stirring Up Marriage. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 4. Taking Concubines for My Husband. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Taking Concubines for My Husband. She didn't even listen to the remaining words, so she stumbled back to her yard with Afu. Afu blushed and said, "Madam, how could the Marquis' mansion treat you like this? You have done so much for the Marquis' mansion, selling your own dowry to avenge him everywhere. You have seen so many expressions, eaten so much in distress, and even the master has been saying that you are not worth it. You have received so many cold words from the Marquis' mansion because of the matter of having children, and the old lady has secretly squeezed you, but the second master has made other women pregnant outside." As she spoke, Fu's tears welled up, and now she finally understood why Qing Shan had gone to investigate the houses in the western suburbs and Miss Yunbiao this morning. At first, it was clearly the second master who repeatedly said he liked you, madam. In order to win your favor, he did a lot of things and almost hurt himself. It was clear that he knelt down in front of you and said he liked you. How could they be so heartless and ruthless? They want to eat your flesh and blood to pave the way for them. Zhao Mingruo smiled bitterly in his heart and said, "Yes, it's clear that he said he liked me first. He also planned to deceive me early on. She really wants to cry a lot, to cry about her sincere mistakes in the past life, to cry about being used for many years, to cry about the child who couldn't survive, to cry about how little she has lived for decades, and to be ridiculed by others. But there is more hatred in my heart. Madam, we need to expose the faces of these hypocritical and malicious people in the Marquis' mansion." Afu gritted his teeth in hatred. Zhao Mingruo put away the sourness in his eyes and said sharply, "Not only that, but I want these people from the Marquis' mansion to kneel down in front of me personally, admit their wrongdoing, and make them cry and beg me to let them go. Since she has the ability to support the Marquis' mansion, she naturally has the ability to destroy them." Zhao Mingruo suppressed his hatred and said, "Go find the cashier to get the silver. Let's go out and call the Qingshan carriage." "What are you going to do?" "Take a concubine for my husband." She wanted to see if Gu Changheng's cheap heart could remain loyal to Yun Suiwan. Afu quickly caught up. "The rain outside is getting heavier and heavier." Zhao Mingruo withdrew all the money from his account, and as soon as he got on the carriage, he saw a figure rushing towards him in the alley. Gu Changheng's face was anxious, he didn't even bother to throw an umbrella and plunged into the house. The carriage stopped in front of the Ichuan pavilion. Afu was extremely nervous. "Madam, why are you here? Didn't you tell me to take a concubine for my husband?" "Madam. It's really shocking to come to a place like Qin Lu Chu Guan, let alone have to wait with a prostitute. It's really..." Zhao Mingruo took the conversation and chuckled lightly, "It really damages the reputation of the family. Afu, what is nobility? What is lowliness? Can we determine based solely on one's status? People like the Marquis' mansion have noble status, but they all wear their face and only think about calculating others. It's disgusting. No matter what their status is, there is always good or bad. Gu Changheng's left and right are not something, and marrying him is also a disguised way of falling into a fire pit. We shouldn't harm the girl casually. Come to Ichuan Hall, choose a few who have the ability, and explain the reason to them clearly. This can help them jump out of the fire pit, and also teach Gu Changheng a good lesson. Why not distance him from Yun Sui-wan? Afu was instantly impressed and said, it was lady who considered everything thoroughly. Zhao Mingruo and Afu changed into men's clothing, elegant and gentle, and followed behind Shen Qingshan to the second floor together. Not long after, a few people spent 7,000 taels of silver, brought out 2 girls, and went to a farmhouse before stopping. I didn't expect Madam to have such a liking and be interested in us people, right? Yao Hua and Shueishiu wriggled their enchanting bodies and clung to Zhao Mingruo's side. They teased and laughed at her and made a seductive gesture. How does the lady want us sisters to serve you? Are we separated, or are we 2 sisters together? Madam, you said that we are your people now, and you can do whatever you want. Zhao Mingruo pushed the 2 away with a cold face and said, put away your playful and smiling faces. Now I'll give you 2 paths, either be obedient or I'll take you back to Ichuan Tower. You can choose for yourself. Yao Hua and Shueishiu immediately dared not provoke like this. Madam! Don't let us go back, we will die. We are obedient, and we will do whatever Madam asks us to do. Spring's mother's methods are too cruel. If we are returned, we will definitely be beaten to death alive. However, whether Madam is a woman or such a beautiful woman, it is better than those fat-headed and smelly men. I only hope that Madam does not play too much. Seeing the 2 of them obedient, Zhao Mingruo's expression also changed a lot. Don't worry, I won't let you jump out of one fire pit and into another. I brought you here to be the aunt of the second young master of Anyuan Marquis' mansion. Shueishiu and Yao Hua couldn't believe their ears. There's such a good thing in the world, a woman going to the fireworks land to redeem someone and become the aunt of the Marquis' mansion. Madam, is this true? It would be great if you could redeem yourself. You could also be a commoner with a flat head and be the aunt of the Marquis' mansion. This future is even better than many ordinary women. Zhao Mingruo continued, the farmhouse here will be the nominal home of your 2 sisters. I will help you handle the registered residence of the government and let you 2 enter the house as good concubines. My only requirement for you is that if it doesn't work, you will still be expelled. Do not go too far, and you can't be seen by others. Understand? Shueishiu and Yao Hua looked at each other with a pair of faces. Qing Shan quickly handed over many clothes and daily boudoir items, which were prepared in advance. I will stay and explain the situation of the Marquis' mansion to you, as well as ask the grandmother to help you learn simple rules. In 3 days, the lady will come to pick you up. Yao Hua and Shueishiu were flattered and surprised. Don't worry, ladies. I won't ask any more questions, and I will definitely listen to you, madam. After settling everything down, Zhao Mingruo took Afu to change clothes and return to the Marquis' mansion. As soon as he stepped into the door, Gu Changheng welcomed him and anxiously said, Roa, why did you sell that apricot forest in the western suburbs? There was a hint of blame in the tone. Zhao Mingruo looked at him in confusion and said, husband. Perhaps sensing his own loss of composure, Gu Changheng quickly adjusted his tone and smiled sternly, Roa, I'm not blaming you, I just feel strange. That's where we first met. You bought that land and took good care of it, and planted many apricot blossoms. Why did you sell your hard work so well? Do you know that? Watching you value that apricot forest so much, I know how much I hold in your heart. I am happy. Aluo, don't sell that piece of land in the western suburbs. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Questioning teachers and punishing offenders. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Inquire into teachers and punish people. Gu Changheng had a dignified and upright demeanor, with a calm and elegant demeanor. Unfortunately, his peach blossom eyes were gentle and affectionate. With such a low profile, he begged for love that even a young lady could not refuse. It turned out that Gu Changhen was not unaware of her intentions, but had been pretending to be confused. In the previous life, she had hoped to stay with him in the Xinglin in the western suburbs during their leisure time, but he refused. He knew that it was the place where they first met, but he deliberately wanted to place Yun Suiwan there, deliberately stabbing Zhao Mingruo in the most important place. Zhao Mingruo suppressed his disgust and said wrongly, "Husband, you know how important that piece of land is to me. I see that it's more important than my life, but you just don't know about the situation in the Marquis' mansion. We're running out of money and food." Afu cooperated in crying and said, "Yes, second master. Since the Marquis' mansion encountered a rebellion case by the King of Wei, most of the estate in the mansion has been confiscated, and the second lady's dowry has been mostly sold to avenge you and the Marquis' mansion. In addition, with the expenses of these years, there is no money left in the accounting room, and even next month's salary has become a problem." The second lady said she wanted to sell that piece of land only for the sake of the Marquis' mansion. She cried sadly for several nights but didn't sleep well. But for the Marquis' mansion and the second master, the second lady is willing to do anything, as long as the family can live a peaceful and beautiful life. Zhao Mingruo couldn't help but shed tears and said, "Husband, I'm sorry, I didn't take good care of the Marquis' mansion and let down your expectations." Gu Changhen was blocked and speechless. But that apricot grove was precisely because Zhao Mingruo had carefully cultivated it in the past, and it was only later that she became very fond of it. A few days ago, the doctor came to diagnose her pulse and found out that she was already 2 months pregnant. She was still lying in her arms with a happy face and said she wanted to wait for her unborn child to appreciate apricot blossoms and eat apricots, but now she is about to be sold. How can he explain to Yun Suiwan and the child in her belly? Why is our family in such a difficult situation like this? Gu Changhen remained unwilling and said, "Aluo, how much silver do you plan to sell in the mountains and forests of the western suburbs?" Otherwise, he would grit his teeth and secretly gather enough money to buy the land in the western suburbs and give it to Wanwan. Anyway, Wanwan is pregnant with his child and deserves this reward, so as not to worry all day about whether Zhao Ming will come and discover any clues. Zhao Mingruo wiped his tears and said, "My husband, because I urgently needed money, I only sold 8,000 taels of silver. I have already gone to the government to obtain a deed, and now that piece of land belongs to someone else. The money sold will be used for the household expenses of the Marquis' mansion." "What? You?" Gu Changhen took a deep breath and tried to keep himself calm. He looked at Zhao Mingruo, whose eyes were slightly red and his pear blossoms were dripping with rain, and finally had no excuse to vent his temper. He comforted absent-mindedly, "Ah Roa, you are wholeheartedly dedicated to the Marquis' mansion. Thank you for your hard work. I believe that under your care, the Marquis' mansion will definitely get better. When the time comes, let's buy back the land in the western suburbs and everything you want." Zhao Mingruo nodded with a smile and said, "Thank you, husband. I still have to go to school, so I need you to take care of my family's affairs. My mother is not in good health, so you need to understand her more. Yue may be a bit stubborn, but she is still young. If anything happens to bump into you, don't argue with her for my sake." Gu Changhen continued to say these insincere words as usual, but after exploiting them, he decided to leave. But Zhao Mingruo stopped him and said, "Husband, you happen to be back. Otherwise, I would have sent someone to find you. I have found an aunt for you and will bring her into the mansion in a few days." Gu Changhen didn't react for a moment and said, "I've found an aunt. Ah Roa, do you want me to take a concubine?" Zhao Mingruo respectfully said, "I have already informed my mother and she has also nodded." Even his mother promised. Gu Changhen changed his expression. My mother was not unaware of Sui Wan's situation, but even nodded and agreed to let Zhao Mingruo take a concubine for him. If Sui Wan found out, it would definitely cause trouble. Now is the critical moment for pregnancy, and we cannot act recklessly. Gu Chongheng had not yet had time to discuss this matter with the old lady, and now he was anxious but dared not deny it at all. I know that my husband's top priority is to study and become an official, and that a great husband should also aspire to the court. However, as a son of a man, procreation is the duty of filial piety. If I feel unwell, I will need more than half a year to recover from illness. In the short term, I may not be able to share my husband's worries and can only find someone else. Zhao Mingruo pressed forward step by step, becoming more and more agitated as he spoke. He even knelt down in front of Gu Chongheng with a thud. "Husband, please agree to my proposal. Otherwise, I really have no face staying in the Marquis' mansion. I only hope that my husband can give me a letter of divorce for being jealous and having nothing to say, and I will have no words to see you again in this life." Afu also knelt down and said, "Second Master, please agree to Second Madam's request. If there are no offspring, it is unfilial. Second Madam's own reputation doesn't matter, how can you also be implicated?" Even though he had secured this portion, Gu Chongheng still gritted his teeth and didn't let go. "Ah Roa, this matter is really sudden. I'm not ready in my heart yet. Besides, I have a deep affection for you. I've told you many times that as long as we can be together, even if we don't have children, I would be willing to. If anyone gives you a face, mother or others will tell me directly. I'll take it out on your behalf. We're both young, and if we don't have children, we'll have to wait until I pass the imperial examination in the future. Okay, I'll discuss it with you in detail when I come back later. The houses in the western suburbs have already been sent over to inform them that they have moved out. If they wait for those people to go back and see no movement, they will definitely use force to drive them out. Suiwen's delicate body should not be stimulated like this." Gu Chongheng disregarded Zhao Mingruo's plea and hurriedly went to find the old lady in the rain. Afu helped Zhao Mingruo up and said, "Madam, we used to be blind before. Surprisingly, we were fooled by Second Master like this. When he was talking to you just now, he didn't even look at you and kept saying that he was deeply in love with you. Even if you knelt down, he wouldn't come and help you." Zhao Mingruo frowned and looked at the misty rain outside the window. Not long after, Qing Shan came over to reply, "Madam, the Second Master and the old lady had a loud argument for a long time and then went out together, but the sound of rain outside was too loud to hear accurately. We also keep up." The carriages and horses moved forward in the rain one after another. Fortunately, the gentle spring rain blocked the sound and sight, but it did not disturb the people on the previous carriage. They followed along all the way until they stopped at the foot of the western suburbs. "Madam, the rain is getting heavier and heavier, should we also follow up?" Afu held up his umbrella and worried. Zhao Mingruo's gaze was firm. "Of course, I sold here just to see them look disheveled. Now that the good show is right in front of me, it's a pity not to watch it." End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Homelessness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Homelessness. When the two of them walked up the stairs to the outside, they heard the sound of arguments inside the room. The door opened wide, and they could vaguely see a dozen or so sturdy guys rolling their sleeves and smashing things in the room. Yun Suiwen's face turned pale as she panicked and stopped. "Who are you? Why are you here to cause trouble at my house? Hurry up and get out, otherwise I'll report to the government." Yun Suiwen was wearing a light green Sichuan brocade long dress, with a head of green silk wrapped in butterfly tassels. The ruby on top was incredibly luxurious, and her lower abdomen was flat, so her chest was not visible for the time being. The leader who went to drive away was not as easy to talk to. "Your family. Do you want face? Do you have property and land deeds? Do you have documentary evidence? Do you have official records? Do you say that your home is your home?" As he spoke, he took out the house deed and land deed. "Do you see that? Our master has already bought this piece of land. We advise you to be sensible and move it away as soon as possible, otherwise we will report to the government and arrest you directly. As they were speaking, the yamen attendant standing at the door entered. Upon seeing this, Yun Suiwen's face lost its color and he said, "You." Afu felt relieved and said, "I deserve to be scolded, take someone else's husband, and still live in someone else's wife's private house." When the Yun family was in ruins, when Yun Suiwen sought the protection of the old lady from the Marquis' mansion, Zhao Mingruo, who was in charge of the Marquis' mansion, also gave her a lot of convenience. He even helped her stand up and protect her innocence when she was played and harassed by other officials on the street. Yun Suiwen followed the rules and regulations in front of Zhao Mingruo, only serving as a cousin of the Marquis' mansion with peace of mind, but secretly climbed onto his cousin's bed. What a thing! Gu Changhen rushed over and saw that the person at the tip of his heart was in danger. He immediately stepped forward and rushed to her, tightly protecting Yun Suiwen in his arms. "Wan, are you okay? I'm sorry my husband came late." Yun Suiwen was still able to hold on and remain calm. At the moment he saw Gu Changhen, he burst into tears of grievance and said, "Husband, this is our home, the place we are together. I don't want to leave, I just want to be here. My child will also love this place." Although her appearance may not be as charming and beautiful as Zhao Mingruo's, she can still be considered a small family jade, gentle as water, and her fair skin is so tender that she almost pinches the water. There is no more vicissitudes and exhaustion when she first came to her door. Gu Changhen saw his beloved crying like a pear blossom with rain, and his heart was about to melt. He immediately comforted him in a soft voice, "Late at night, you can rest assured that with your husband, you will definitely not be wronged. Did you hear my wife's words? This is our home, no one can drive us away. If you don't leave again, don't blame me for taking action against you." He brought several servants out of the mansion, and the two sides faced off. The second young master of the Tangtang Marquis' mansion, a young scholar, actually played pranks with people over a piece of land. The old lady also became nervous and said, "Late at night, you can slow down. You are now heavy and there is no need to get angry about these despicable people." She leaned on her cane, pulled her big pancake face, and stared angrily at the people who came to the important place with mung-bean eyes. "You are so bold, you dare not see our identities and act recklessly in the industry of Anyuan Marquis' mansion. If my daughter-in-law and her baby have anything to do, I will definitely go to the yamen to sue you." The old lady exuded a strong aura and said, "Get out of here now." Unfortunately, these yamen officials did not give her face, and she immediately laughed. "Madam, the land deed is in the hands of Mr. Huang, so this piece of land belongs to Mr. Huang. Even if the emperor comes, we must follow the rules." Isn't it a joke that the old lady of Anyuan Marquis' mansion is leading a group of people to play pranks and try to seize the land of ordinary people? The old lady's face turned blue and white after being choked. The yamen officials saw that the man had complete procedures, documents, and land and house deeds, and could only handle matters impartially. It's no use being a scoundrel. The yamen doesn't eat this trick. If they don't move out within an hour, they will have to take everyone to jail and punish them. The official knives in the hands of the yamen officials flickered with cold light. The old lady suddenly vented her anger, knowing that no matter how much she argued, it would be useless. "It's too late, this rundown place is far and far away. We just can't wait, and wait for my aunt to buy you a place even bigger than here." Gu Changhen also coaxed in a soft voice, "Evening, your body is important. Your husband will find a way for you. Wait, I will buy this piece of land sooner or later." "I listened to my husband and aunt's words," Yun Suiwen cried sadly, unable to bear to look at the courtyard where she had been in love with her husband, and was pulled onto the carriage in a disheveled state. At this moment, the spring rain stopped. Those strong men felt that throwing things one by one was too troublesome, so they simply threw a torch inside the obstructed house. The fire quickly spread throughout the entire house, and even though it had rained before, it could not withstand the fire. They set fire and went to cut down apricot trees. As soon as spring arrives, pink flower buds bloom on the branches of the apricot forest in the western suburbs. It is expected to bloom in just a few days, and this scenery will never be seen again. A few sighed and said, "It's a pity that you have put in so much effort, madam." In the previous life, Gu Changheng used the silver I earned through hard work to pamper Yun Suiwan, Jin Zuanyu, and his wife. They had white heads and a lot of grandchildren, but I worked hard to be several decades older than them. In my later years, I was plagued by various illnesses, allowing these two people to step on the bones and enjoy themselves. Zhao Mingruo's eyes were cold and fierce. In this lifetime, he can't live a peaceful life. Not far away is Pingding Temple. I'll go add some sesame oil. Afu, you can go and pay them money and come find me. Okay. If Xiao Ming doesn't linger, turn around and walk down the steps. The newly rainy mountains and fields exude a fresh atmosphere, with a faint aroma of soil scattered in the air. The main entrance of Pingding Temple is filled with incense, and even on rainy days, there are still good men and women praying for blessings and fulfilling their wishes. Entering the main hall, there were lifelike Buddha statues that were majestic and compassionate. Zhao Mingruo knelt devoutly on a cattail, silently praying in her heart, hoping that her children from her past life could ascend to the extreme without suffering. Outside the Buddhist temple. "The servant," I exclaimed in surprise, "Crown Prince, that person kneeling like the second lady of Anyuan Marquis' mansion." Yan Huayan's gentle and elegant face gazed quietly at Zhao Mingruo, who was devout and focused with her hands clasped together. She also enshrined an eternal lamp, which would show respect to the deceased. It seems that there haven't been many deaths in Changning Marquis' mansion and Anyuan Marquis' mansion. I also wondered, yeah, I haven't heard of it. Yan Huayan coughed lightly and walked up to Zhao Mingruo's side. He smiled and said, "Second madam, I didn't expect to see you here." The man's low and steady voice came to his ears, and Zhao Mingruo opened his eyes in confusion and saw Yan Huayan's warm, jade-like, noble face. He was dressed in a sky-blue brocade robe, with a jade belt around his waist, facing the sunlight. The sky-blue brocade robe was like a layer of frost, and his complexion looked much better, not as pale and weak as usual. End of this chapter. 7. Who is the Master in Chapter 7? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Who is the Master? Zhao Mingruo regained his senses and said, "I have seen the Crown Prince." Yan Huayan's gaze was gentle. "You don't need to be polite, it's just that second madam, your expression just now was a bit off." Zhao Mingruo was taken aback for a moment. In his previous life, Prince Yan didn't know why he would seriously agree to marry Gu Changyue, the fifth aunt of the Marquis' mansion. He passed away less than 5 years after marriage. At that time, Gu Changyue used her status as a crown prince and consort to act recklessly, liking men and raising more than a dozen male pets around her. She also gained power and caused chaos in the Yan state mansion. In the end, she was found guilty, leading to the entire mansion being raided and beheaded, and her good reputation was all ruined, causing everyone to curse her. She had tried her best to remain calm, but was still discovered by the Crown Prince of Yan. Such a meticulous, intelligent, and kind-hearted gentleman may have been jealous of talented people for being so weak. If Xiao Ming knew his result, it would be difficult to reveal it, returning to the Crown Prince. After some thought, she wanted to find another excuse. Yan Huayan smiled gently and said, "I thought second lady was a person with a clear mind, but unexpectedly, she is just like an ordinary person, pitiful for me who is plagued by a long illness." He looked deeply at the second lady, who was well known outside the Anyuan Marquis' mansion. The case of King Wei's rebellion was widely implicated in the beginning, and it was not only the Marquis' family that suffered. The men of the neighboring families were arrested, and the women's families were in chaos. There were countless incidents of chickens crowing and dogs stealing, and families fleeing. However, the Marquis' mansion in Anyuan showed no signs of change and showed no signs of defeat. The newly married second wife was able to manage the troublemakers in the family with a decisive and efficient manner, pacify her sister-in-law, uncle and nephew, and sell her dowry to plead for justice for her husband. He admired her broad-mindedness. "I don't want to, I am also a follower of the trend." Zhao Mingruo said solemnly, "I have never felt that the crown prince is pitiful. The crown prince is well versed in poetry and books, and has a talent for managing the world. Even though he is plagued by various illnesses, he has wisdom and strategy, and is tolerant and magnanimous. Throughout his life, he will be both long and short. Even if he is absurd and treacherous for 100 years, he will only feel wasted. It is better to stay within his ability range and not lose his true intention." Yan Huai looked quietly at Zhao Mingruo, who was serious. Without a word or expression, his gaze at her again was as gentle as the gentle moonlight. "Prince Yan, I'm going back to the Marquis' mansion." After Zhao Mingruo nodded, he left, and Yan Huai's gaze followed her figure before retracting. He clenched his fist and suppressed his cough, took Miao Xiang devoutly and inserted it into the incense burner, then walked to the Changming lamp. The two lamps were placed together, and Yan Huaiyan saw the words written on the lamp. "Liner. No name or surname. It's like a child's nickname." Zhao Mingruo has already gone far. I said enthusiastically on the side, "Prince, have you heard me? The second lady praised you so much, she really appreciates you. To be honest, these two ladies are already unusual. Her husband secretly kept an outer room outside, and she quietly sold the land without crying or making a fuss. She even set fire to this place, which was really neat and tidy." I spoke in admiration, clearly seeing everything that had just happened in Xinglin. Both their master and servant saw it. There were people in Yanhuan who wanted to pay their respects, and it was a coincidence that Pingding Temple came more frequently. Don't discuss other people's family matters recklessly." I nodded and said, "I understand. I won't talk nonsense. I just admire the second lady. It's not easy for a woman to be so transparent and capable, and she's so beautiful. If you were to become your crown princess, I believe you wouldn't have to work so hard. Unfortunately, you don't have this good luck." As he spoke, he looked at Yan Huaiyan with red eyes and heartache. Yan Huaiyan stood up and placed a wonderful incense stick on the incense burner in front of the Changming lamp worshipped by Zhao Mingruo. He whispered, "I only hope that my beloved can pass away soon. The rain has stopped, let's go back too." After completing everything, Zhao Mingruo took Afu back to the Marquis' mansion. She stopped by the butler's place and took out all the silver that the Marquis' mansion could use. Chen, the butler, expressed some criticism and said, "Madame Heir, although you are currently in charge of the Marquis' mansion, the silver belongs to the Marquis' mansion. You have taken all the money from your account at once. So what should the Marquis' mansion do next? He is the distant nephew of the old lady, who has been placed at home as a butler." With the support of the old lady, he often retorted against Zhao Mingruo, and privately, he doesn't know how much silver he embezzled from the Marquis' mansion or how many kickbacks he received. Once upon a time, if Zhao Ming respected his mother-in-law and could endure it for the sake of his husband's face, it would make him truly unaware of the vastness of heaven and earth. Zhao Mingruo sneered, "So, Manager Chen, why do you think the silver on the account comes from? Of course, it's the grain shop on the West Alley, the rice shop on the East Street, and—" Chen, the butler, was full of confidence. Zhao Mingruo continued to ask, "Whose dowry is the grain shop in the West Alley and the rice shop in the East Street?" Steward Chen's eyes widened in an instant and he said, "Yes. It's yours, madam." The property of the Marquis' mansion was confiscated after the old Marquis and young men were imprisoned. Although the injustice was later cleared, the confiscated property could not be returned. What the Marquis' mansion uses now is all earned by Zhao Mingruo's dowry shop. Yeah, it's mine. I can't even use the silver I've earned myself. Zhao Mingruo's eyes were sharp. Manager Chen, have you forgotten something very important? I asked you, who is the master between you and me? Are you, said Butler Chen with a pale face, since you know it, it's good to do your job well. Don't meddle in things that shouldn't be done, let alone discuss what the master is doing. Zhao Mingruo took the silver and sternly warned, if there's another time, even my mother won't be able to protect you. Outside the door, Chen Butler's subordinate Peng Nian respectfully greeted Zhao Mingruo. Zhao Mingruo raised his eyebrows and returned to his yard with Ah Fu. Soon after, Peng Nian quietly appeared. Madam. Zhao Mingruo curled his lips and said, you are quite clever. Having gained the favor and trust of Madam, if Madam has any orders, it doesn't matter. The villain is bound to give his all. Peng Nian knelt in front of Zhao Mingruo as soon as he arrived to show his loyalty. Zhao Mingruo was very satisfied with his cleverness. Peng Nian, I remember you and Steward Chen entered the mansion together, and you are even more capable than him. Just because he is a distant relative of the old lady, he always puts pressure on you everywhere. After becoming a steward, he deliberately makes things difficult for you. Isn't this kind of life uncomfortable? Peng Nian sincerely said, I am walking on thin ice and my life is unbearable. Please help me out of the fire pit, madam. Okay, I'll give you a chance now. I've made the decision to take concubines for my second master. You'll be responsible for arranging the new aunt's food and clothing, as well as the servants and maids when she enters the house. All the clumsy and powerless ones in the other rooms will also be removed, especially the old lady. She must take good care of her and not let her mother feel unhappy. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Husband, be gentle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Husband, be gentle. After it's done, the position of butler in the Marquis' mansion will be yours, and no one's relatives can take it away. Zhao Mingruo remained calm and composed, and his red lips lifted lightly, causing Peng Nian to be moved. Ah Fu approached with a clear expression and handed 150 taels of silver to Peng Nian. Madam, there are too many of them. Peng Nian dared not go to pick them up. Zhao Mingruo said calmly, take it. The task you are instructed to do is not simple. Don't worry when you need to use silver. You can freely dispose of 100 taels of silver. In addition, when you become a butler, your daily silver will double. Not now. Take the remaining 50 taels to treat your mother's illness. Doubling now will make other people in the mansion suspicious and also expose their relationship. Peng Nian's body trembled slightly, madam. In his early 20s, he is a young and energetic age, clearly capable but not as connected as others. I am not convinced in my heart, but I am constantly being suppressed and squeezed. I can only make a living by looking at people's faces, and even my mother is seriously ill and cannot afford medical treatment. He deliberately attached himself to the second lady, but as someone walks up high, who would be willing to be trampled on for the rest of his life. However, he didn't expect that the second lady would be so devoted to his mother, not for anything else, just to give her a helping hand in the snow. He also swore to be loyal to the second lady for the rest of his life. Thank you very much. Peng Nian didn't mean to be polite either. He took the silver and said 2 words to his nephew, which represented enough loyalty. Madam, I'll go to the kitchen and cook some dishes for you. Zhao Mingruo was busy all day and didn't even have time to eat. She didn't have much appetite, but she understood that her body was the most important thing. The reason she lost in her previous life was because of her body. She worked hard all day, injured her body, had a slippery tire, and was plagued by various illnesses. She used her life to pave the way for the Marquis' mansion. Otherwise, even if she grew old, she wouldn't easily let go of that scumbag couple. She had to take good care of her body. Okay. Ah Fu's cooking skills were excellent. Zhao Mingruo had a bad appetite, but she tried to eat as much as possible. She slept very restlessly that night. And equally uncomfortable is the old lady's family. Inside the inn, Yun Suiwen's eyes were slightly red, and pearl-like tears fell uncontrollably. Looking pitiful, Gu Changheng's heart was about to melt. "Don't worry, my husband will definitely raise money to help you buy back that piece of land. We will rebuild a big house and plant apricot trees again. Don't cry, your health is important." Yun Suiwen sobbed softly and said, "Husband, I am not greedy. I know that being able to be by my husband's side is a gift from heaven, but that is the place where I and my husband worship and get married. There are many beautiful memories of us. I really can't bear to part with you." I know, it's my husband who's not good," Gu Changheng replied repeatedly. "It's all my fault. I didn't know beforehand that the person in the Marquis' mansion was going to sell this land, otherwise I would definitely stop him." The old lady also followed her precious grandson and said, "Don't worry, my mother will definitely make the decision for you. That ignorant person from the Marquis' mansion will punish your mother severely when she returns to vent her anger on you. Don't cry, my great-grandson will also be sad. The old Marquis is already in poor health. He has been implicated in the rebellion case and his body has been dragged down. Now he has no control over the affairs of the Marquis' mansion and only cares for him. He will eventually pass away." The title naturally became a target of contention among the children of the Marquis' mansion. Although the old lady is the legitimate wife of the old Marquis, the eldest son of the wealthy concubine was born to her Aunt Guoshi, who is very popular with the old Marquis. She gave birth to the second young master, third young master, and fifth young lady. Among the two sons, the second son is intelligent and capable, and is also the most favorable candidate for the title. The old lady pinned all her treasures on Gu Changheng, hoping that she would inherit the title and end her life well. This was also one of the reasons why she insisted on him marrying Zhao Mingruo. The assistance from Changning Mansion, even if the boss is favored by the Marquis, you should still be wary. Heng, please stay here and comfort Wan. My mother will find a way to go back to the Marquis' mansion to raise money for you. Thank you very much, mother. It's getting late, I need to go back first to avoid the suspicion from the Marquis' mansion. The old lady no longer delayed her son and niece, leaving wisely. The red candle swayed slightly. There are only two people left in the room. Wan. Gu Changheng's Adam's apple rolled and his gaze was mesmerized as he looked at Yun Suiwen. Yun Suiwen lowered her head coquettishly, blushing on her cheeks. Husband, the doctor said that she is only 2 months pregnant now, and the fetus is still unstable. We can't be too aggressive. Gu Changheng opened his mouth and held onto her delicate jade hands, grinning mischievously, Husband, be gentle. Yun Suiwen is shy and no longer refuses. Sleeping all night until dawn, Zhao Mingruo had just woken up to tidy up, and Afu had already prepared breakfast for her. Madam, I made your favorite sweet scented osmanthus soft cake and cooked lotus seed congee. Go and have a good meal, and I will help you with the rest. These days, Afu has also changed a lot. In the past, she was just an inexperienced little girl who followed Zhao Mingruo and only took care of her daily life. Since knowing the true face of the Marquis' mansion, she has secretly made up her mind to be the wife's right-hand man and help her seek revenge. At dawn, Peng Yan came over to reply, saying that all the candidates you ordered had been found. He was waiting for noon to bring the new aunt servants, and the original maids and servants in the mansion had also been arranged. He is quite agile in his movements. Zhao Mingruo drinks congee and eats cakes. Ah Fu's craftsmanship is excellent, especially the sweet-scented osmanthus cake she makes. Every time she sees her appetite, she gets better and eats 2 pieces in a row. Gu Changheng strode forward and saw Zhao Mingruo, who was so contented, feeling a slight anger in his heart. Late at night, she was driven away from home with pregnancy and stumbled around before landing at the inn. She was so sad that she couldn't even sleep well. Zhao Mingruo was well, enjoying a peaceful life in the Marquis' mansion. "Husband, have you come back and had breakfast yet?" Zhao Mingruo continued to please kindly. "Afu, go and add a pair of bowls and chopsticks for your husband." "No need." Gu Changheng decided to give Zhao Mingruo a good face. The Marquis' mansion had always respected her as a miss of Changning Mansion and had always been kind to her, causing her to lose her sense of propriety, forget to marry her husband, and even sell her family's property privately, which was different from him and his mother. There are really no rules. Gu Changheng sat in front of Zhao Mingruo with a cold face and said, "Aluo, Manager Chen said you have spent all the money on the Marquis' account, and you have sold the mountains and forests in the western suburbs. What are you doing for such a large sum of money? Your mother entrusted you with the management of the Marquis' mansion. If you don't even trust your sister. In law, it means you trust you. But you can't act on your mother's trust like this, can you? Do you want the Marquis' mansion to follow suit?" End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Says that you are not good at that aspect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 talks about your side. No way. He also plans to use the money from his account to buy back the western suburbs for Suiwan. As a result, there was no silver left. He knew that if Zhao Mingruo kicked his nose and slapped his face, he would hand over the power of the butler to her, and she would really treat the whole mansion as her own home. Gu Changheng could no longer disguise himself and directly scolded Zhao Mingruo. Zhao Mingruo's smile gradually faded from his face, and a chill flashed in his eyes. When he made a profit for him, he was happy. He wished his mouth had brought the whole world to her, which involved his interests. He didn't even pretend anymore. "Husband, what are you saying? My whole body is devoted to the Marquis' mansion. Your words really hurt my heart." When Zhao Mingruo spoke again, the hatred in his eyes disappeared, leaving only delicate grievances. She was already born extremely beautiful, just wearing a simple sky blue skirt, but there was a touch of elegance and tranquility. At this moment, her eyes were slightly red, with crystal clear tears hanging on them. Tears filled her almond eyes, and her delicate and pitiful appearance was even more delicate. Gu Changheng's Adam's apple rolled and his gaze became unnatural for a moment. He averted his gaze and waited coldly for Zhao Mingruo's explanation. "I have already greeted my husband and mother before. If I want to take a concubine for my husband, I cannot have my aunt come to my door. I don't even bring someone in without proper etiquette. If I spend the money on my account, I will be hired." Zhao Mingruo lowered his head and sobbed, "Even if the situation in the mansion is difficult, I would rather eat less than inherit a son for my husband. Otherwise, I would be ashamed to be the wife of the Gu family." Gu Changheng frowned and his expression softened a bit. "Ah Roa, I've already told you before. I'm happy with you. The matter of the heir is not urgent. If there is one, it's just icing on the cake. If not, we won't force it. Don't mention the matter of taking a concubine anymore. He has already privately communicated with the old lady, and both of them do not approve of taking a concubine. Spending a lot of money to get married and show it off is of no use. Go and get the dowry back, I'll be of great use right now." But Zhao Mingruo cried tearfully, "Husband, you don't know that now the wealthy and powerful mansions in Linen City are laughing at you." "Laughing at you? What are you laughing at me for?" Gu Changheng was puzzled. Zhao Mingruo covered his chest and his heart and said, "Joking at my husband, you can't have sex. I'm telling you. That's not good." "What?" Gu Changheng's face turned green and he said, "These gossiping bastards are talking nonsense. Is this a blatant issue of face, okay? Which man can accept that he can't do it and be treated as a joke to discuss in his spare time? Unfortunately, Gu Changheng is about to become a father, and he has not been able to bring Yun Suiwan back to the mansion with integrity and righteousness. I used to be able to serve my husband, but the doctor came over and saw that I had worked too hard and suffered a severe loss of health. I needed to rest well, otherwise the child would be weak in the womb and difficult to support. As a result, I could only take care of my husband. Zhao Mingruo's attitude was very resolute. If my husband doesn't agree, I will invite him to come down now. It's not good to ruin my husband's reputation like this. For a moment, Gu Changheng didn't refuse so strongly. He married and returned home. He was just an aunt's concubine, and it wouldn't affect Wanwan's status. Even if he really had a child, it wouldn't hinder Wanwan's child from inheriting the title. But silver, if Zhao Mingruo took all the silver, where would he have the money to buy back the apricot forest in the western suburbs? Ah, raw. Gu Changheng racked his brains to think of an excuse to ask for money, but before he could say anything, Zhao Mingruo cried and threw himself into his arms. Husband, I know your deep affection and loyalty towards me, but for the sake of inheritance and the reputation of the Marquis' mansion, please agree to my request. No matter what, my relationship with you will not change. We will tolerate and understand each other, and that's enough. When did Zhao Mingruo, who has always been dignified, lose his sense of propriety? The serene and cool plum blossom fragrance powder touched the strings of his heart. Gu Changheng's mind was also in turmoil. Ah, Roa, After all, I couldn't say anything about asking for money. Although Gu Changheng was hypocritical, he was also someone who wanted face. Zhao Mingruo's every promise was stuck in his heart, and his face couldn't hold back. Ah, Roa, you are all for me, I know that. Since you've said that, then let's do as you said. Mother will leave the affairs of the harem to you, and you naturally have full control, but the money. I'll take this money and hire you. I'll figure it out myself. You have a good meal first. Gu Changheng hurriedly left, and if he didn't get any money from Zhao Mingruo, he would have to find a way to start from others. It's my husband. Zhao Mingruo leisurely took the sweet-scented osmanthus cake and continued to eat. Really, after giving Gu Changheng a grudge, his appetite became better. He drank the whole bowl of congee before taking Ah Fu out. Gu Changheng left Yunyao courtyard and headed straight to the butler's place. Steward Chen, I want to take out the land deed property from your mansion and check it out. Without cash, there is still an industry. After Zhao Mingruo got married, she brought a lot of dowry, which was given to her by the county lord. Gu Changheng's eyes flickered with greed. Zhao Mingruo, don't blame me. It's because you didn't manage your own industry well, make money to support your family, and sold the land in the western suburbs without authorization. You can only use your other dowries to make up for it. This, said Butler Chen with a puzzled expression. Gu Changheng was already holding his breath in his heart, and Chen Butler's disdainful expression made him furious. What's going on? I don't even have the right to check on my family's property now. No, it's not. That's not what a villain means. Chen, the butler, apologized repeatedly, it's just. He sighed and took out the existing land deed industry of the Marquis' mansion, it's all here. What? Gu Changheng looked in shock at the few thin books and deeds stored in the box and said, are you joking with me? My Anyuan Marquis' mansion has been in business for several generations. Even if you are greedy, you should stop it in moderation, okay? He also doesn't like the distant relative his mother found. He is too greedy and often embezzles things based on relationships. Chen, the butler, smiled apologetically and said, Second Master, you have to speak with conscience. When the Marquis' mansion made a mistake, the estate in the mansion had already been inspected by the government. This was a peace of mind, and the land and house deeds of the Marquis' mansion were returned. The other 2 fields and shops were gifts of filial piety to the old lady at the second lady's birthday banquet, otherwise there wouldn't be even this. Gu Changheng couldn't accept the fact that the Marquis' mansion was so poor for a long time. He gritted his teeth and said, the dowries of the second lady, third lady, and fourth lady are still there. They all married into the Marquis' mansion later and haven't been investigated. Chen, the butler, said helplessly, the dowry is private property, and several ladies have taken care of it themselves. Previously, the two ladies had placed it in the public account, but a few days ago they also took it with them. They said they wanted to give you a concubine as a dowry. End of this chapter. 10. Chapter 10 is hooked. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 is hooked. If it weren't for his involvement with the old lady, Steward Chen would have felt that the idea of the Marquis' mansion offering dowries to women was despicable, not even as good as butchers and beggars. However, Zhao Mingruo did indeed have a lot of dowries. Chen, the butler, approached Gu Changheng with a mischievous smile and said, "Second master, second lady has always liked you and thought of you. If you speak up, the dowry will definitely be returned. With so many treasures, she wouldn't have given all her concubines." Gu Changheng clenched his hands. "You all know that the dowry is private property, and it's hard to ask for it, but I'm afraid I'll go." "What kind of heart does and have? Tell you, you can stop where you are, or I'll find my mother and drive you back to your hometown." Zhao Mingruo's dowry belongs to the Marquis' mansion, and it is only natural for Gu Changheng to use it. It is reasonable for a distant relative to follow suit. Chen, the butler, cursed behind his back, "Pooh, you're so arrogant that you're talking about me. I'm greedy, I'm greedy." Gu Changheng angrily left the door. After racking his brains to think about how to get Zhao Mingruo's dowry, Peng Yan appeared in front of him perfectly and said, "Second master, I just heard what you said to Manager Chen." Gu Changheng frowned, feeling unfamiliar with the character Peng Yan. Peng Yan reported his family background and said, "Second master, I came into the Marquis' mansion with Chen Butler to work. My name is Peng Yan. Regarding what Chen Butler said, I have a way to help you get the dowry of second lady without having to ask for it myself." Gu Changheng's eyes lit up and he said, "You say?" Inside the Yuchen building, Yao Hua restrained her seductive figure, no longer twitching her slender waist casually, and spoke appropriately. She looked like a well-behaved and unregulated girl. She was once again charming, with a pair of peach blossom eyes that were charming. Just a glance at a man could captivate him. The results during this period are good. You worked hard. If Xiao Ming had not been stingy with his rewards, in the future, if you enter the mansion, you will behave and talk like you do now, and no one will notice you. I have also told you about the young master's preferences. Whether you can capture the young master's heart depends on your abilities." Yao Hua pursed her lips and chuckled, "Madam, don't worry, Yao Hua doesn't have any other skills. It's still easy to take a man off the bed." Zhao Mingruo nodded satisfied and said, "The rest is up to you." "Just madam, what about Shueishiu? She didn't go to the mansion with me." Yao Hua was a bit puzzled. Zhao Mingruo glanced meaningfully at the second floor. As the name suggests, Shueishiu Ren is dressed in a water green rue skirt, with a fair and delicate skin tone, elegant and unconventional. Her curved eyebrows and smiling eyes are indescribably gentle and charming. If you take a closer look, you will also see that the Shueishiu eyebrows and eyes are somewhat like those of Yun Suiwan, both of which are from the small family Jade. Zhao Mingruo deliberately followed his appearance when picking people, taking a dual approach. He had a beautiful aunt at the front and a delicate maid at the back. How could Gu Changheng bear such temptation? She was holding freshly cooked red bean soup in her hand, and when Yun Suiwan went out, she coincidentally bumped into her like this. "Ah!" The cry of surprise echoed on the second floor. Although it was not abrupt in the bustling inn, Zhao Mingruo downstairs noticed everything and watched the performance of Shueishiu quietly. "Sorry girl, I'm sorry." Shueishiu was panicked and wanted to help Yun Suiwan tidy up her skirt, but she was pushed away by Yun Suiwan fiercely. "Where the hell did you come from? How dare you rush like this? Do you know who I am? Dare to dirty my clothes? Are you willing to pay for your lowly life?" Yun Suiwan's eyebrows and eyes were full of sharpness, and there was no other submissive and humble demeanor in front of the person in the Marquis' mansion. Zhao Mingruo and others are watching the excitement on the first floor. Shui Xiu, with red eyes and a loud cry, knelt in front of Yun Suiwan and said, "Madam, please spare your life. I am here because my young lady is about to get married. I came to the inn to pack her favorite food. I was in a hurry and rushed into her. Please forgive me. I don't know the identity of Madam, but I also know that Madam's temperament is outstanding and unusual. Please spare me, Madam. Getting married." Yun Suiwan was still attracted and said, "Who is your young lady and who will she marry?" Tears of fear hung around Shui Xiu's eyes, and she trembled as she replied, "Madam Hui, our young lady is the youngest daughter of the Yao family in the west of the city. She wants to marry the second young master of Anyuan Marquis' mansion as her aunt." "What?" Yun Suiwan's gentle little face immediately lost its color. "Do you think your young lady is going to marry the second young master Gu Changheng as her aunt?" Shui Xiu nodded timidly, "Yes." Yun Suiwan's tears filled her eyes in an instant, and she didn't even have the heart to pursue Shui Xiu again. She just returned to her room feeling lost. She couldn't believe that her husband, who had been gently coaxing her last night, was about to accept her aunt in the blink of an eye, but she was completely unaware of it. "Gu Changheng, you keep it so tight. How could you betray me like this? Cousin, it's so hard for you to deceive me. Cousin. Why did you lie to me? You said you only like me in this life, and you promised me." Yun Suiwan hid in her room and cried uncontrollably. Zhao Mingruo, with her people outside the door, could hear clearly. Her eyes were cold, and no matter how Yun Suiwan snatched her husband, she would send someone to snatch him back and let her taste the taste. There has been some commotion now. Unknowingly, Gu Changheng was still staying in the old lady's room asking for money. When Zhao Mingruo returned to the Marquis' mansion, he happened to hear the two of them arguing. "Mother, in the past, Aurora didn't give you less silver. Why did you say no when your son needed it?" Gu Changheng's face was slightly angry. "My son didn't say he won't return it to you. As long as I buy the land in the western suburbs first, I will definitely find an opportunity to return it to you later." The old lady's face turned pale and blue as she was told, but she refused to let go. "Hein, it's not that I don't want to give it to you. It's because I didn't have it either. When you made a mistake, I sold my dowry to you and begged for mercy. Now that you want so much silver, how could I find it for you? Suiwan doesn't have nowhere to live now. Wait until you ask for money from your wife again in the future before buying land in the western suburbs. Hainger, be obedient." Gu Changheng looked at his mother in shock and said, Wan is pregnant now, and she likes that house. What if it affects the child inside her belly? You don't know this is her first child. Besides, Mom, my son has seen it all. There are quite a few silver bills and treasures in your warehouse. Selling any two of them is enough to buy land. The old lady's eyes flickered, afraid to look directly at her son. She didn't have the 8,000 taels of land to buy in her hands, but it was all from Zhao Mingruo's hands that she had worked hard to obtain. Looking at Zhao Mingruo's situation of selling everywhere, she was afraid that she didn't have much dowry left, and it would be difficult to get it again in the future. End of this chapter.